Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 10th, 2024 School Board of Manatee County regular scheduled meeting. I'm officially calling this meeting to order. I want to pass it to Ms. Felton for the reading of our district's vision.
The School District of Manatee County will be an exemplary student-focused school system that develops lifelong learners to be globally competitive.
Thank you. Our color guard this evening is going to be Parish Community High School. I want to announce them before they come in. Once they do, if you all will stand, we will do the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Parish Community High School's JROTC is Cadet Sergeant Major Jonathan Nee, Cadet First Lieutenant Kelton Hardy, Cadet Major Bryant Chin, and Cadet Sergeant First Class Kyle Nee. If you all will stand as the color guard comes in and presents their colors. And Ms. Felton, if you want to introduce your invocator.
This is Father Frederick Nestrock from Church of the Apostles in Parrish, Florida.
You can come up and give your invocation at the podium.
This is not going to be a 40-minute sermon. All of you are entrusted by public opinion and election to at least share a common task. The common task has a lot of aspects, that of care, nurture, and the well-being of the children in our school systems. Kindness, decency, respect for each other, courage, strength, and honesty are some of the basic things that have to come from us to them. There are teachers, families, teachers, and administrators in the institutions of this county. We are to somehow impart to them the things which will sustain them, as was said before, in a competitive future. We are thankful to that which is beyond us, before us, above us, below us, and within us, whatever name you call it. Now thank we all our God with hearts and hands and voices, and we gather together to ask the Lord's blessing. He chases and hastens his will to be known. The wicked oppressing, now cease them from distressing. Sing praises to his name, he forgets not his own. He sighed us to guide us, our God with us joining, ordaining, maintaining his kingdom divine. So from the beginning, the fight we were winning. Thou, Lord, was at our side, all glory be thine. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Now join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Right. Face. Forward. Arch.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, that moves us to item number 6, the approval of the agenda. The chair has found good cause to amend the agenda to include all items listed under agenda amendments on December 10th, 2024 agenda. It was updated December 6th, 2024 and posted to the district website, manateeschools.net. Do I have a motion to to approve the agenda tonight?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. I do see, did you second it?
I did, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I forgot the button. Is that showing up?
It's not on my end. Let's see. Did we get it through? Is it in? Okay, it's not on my end. So let's go ahead and vote manually. Oh, there it goes. Never mind. A little bit slow, a little bit slow. And that, the agenda is approved 5-0. Item number 7, the approval of the minutes. Dr. Weissong?
Good evening, Chairman and board members. I recommend approval of the minutes from the November 12th, 2024 school board meeting, the November 19th, 2024 reorganization meeting, and the November 19th, 2024 annual meeting of the School Board Leasing Corporation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any adjustments to the minutes, board members?
No, sir.
Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the specified minutes. And that passes 5-0. All right, Mr. Barber, do you want to come on up for some of our student celebrations and recognitions? We got some good ones.
Thank you very much, Mr. Board Chair, board members, and Dr. Weissong. Also welcome new members of Felton and Kennedy.
Thanks, Mike.
And as you said, week and a half from the end of the first semester. Hard to believe, you know, we're already here. But tonight is a tremendous demonstration of the kind of accomplishments that can be had, you know, in a short period of time and during the first semester. And the people that we're celebrating tonight have done amazing things. And of course, the work that they've put into these accomplishments go back much farther than a semester, and it's years in the making. But we've got a lot of proud things to celebrate in Manatee County, and this is certainly one of them. More than 200 schools and more than 5,000 cadets from across America participated in the JROTC National Raider Challenge at Fort Knox, Kentucky on October 24th through 27th, 2024. The competition featured a grueling obstacle course, a 5K run, and a cross-country rescue mission involving a one-rope bridge. I'm sure there was more, but those are some of the highlights. Like so many different fields, teams from Manatee County shined in this competition. So we want to introduce them to you here tonight. To get us started, I have Chief Warrant Officer 4, retired John Edmond from Palmetto High School. So,
thank you so much. First, I want to say thank you to the school district and the board members for recognizing our Palmetto Female Tigers Raider team and for their hard work, commitment, sacrifice, so many hours by winning the Army National and also the Florida State Raider competition. Again, there were over 200 teams at the National. Again, it's very competitive and challenging. But the key, those girls, they stepped to the challenge. They accepted it. But most of all, the girl, expected they exceeded the challenge and all the expectation, and that allowed them to also win the national and the state competition. I know they learned a lot from all the experiences and created long-lasting memories, and also they're better prepared for down the road for what they're gonna face as well. I will call the name. I will start with the team captain, Stephanie Cantel Hernandez. Stephanie Blas Perez. Mia Vargas Gonzalez. Daphne Corona. Cindy Perez Gonzalez. Mishmael Olivier. Nina Velasquez could not be here today. Scarlett Arenas. Emily Tovar Womo. Faith Ramirez. Elise Jacobs. Deborah Argueta. Allison Tripp. Del Delaney. And Nida Perez Ramos. Again, my key is to work these kids hard, prep them for down the future. And once they buy in, I buy in too.
Thank you.
Us too.
Congratulations.
We also here have Palmetto High School Assistant Principal Qantas Simmons. And standing in the background trying to hide is Lieutenant Colonel U.S. Army retired Philip Pugh Jr., who's been a long time staying in the for Palmetto High School, JROTC. Again, these girls right here, out of all the Raider, the female Raider teams in the nation, these are the national champions. So we're going to
Wonderful.
get a picture with the school board.
Nice job, ladies. Go Tigers.
Everybody done? Okay. Great. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
National champs. Good job, ladies.
Well done, ladies.
It's our future. It's our
That's
future
awesome.
right there.
That's an accomplishment.
Oh, yeah, this is the best part, too.
We got a whole nother crew to bring in, but it's great.
That's wonderful.
We actually have two teams that we're recognizing tonight from Manatee High School. And that were at the same competition. And to tell us a little bit of more about their accomplishments, I have Command Sergeant Major, retired Thomas Stock.
Yeah.
Dr. Weissong, members of the board,
Good to see you.
thank you for taking the time tonight to recognize our outstanding cadets. My name's Command Sergeant Major Zock. I've been at Manatee High School 20 years, after 25 years in the Army, and I couldn't be more proud of being in Manatee County. I live in Brandon. I've driven 100 miles back and forth to work for the last 20 years, and I wouldn't go anywhere else but Manatee County. Tonight, I'm thrilled to introduce you guys to some extraordinary cadets. These are cadets that are driven, they have fire in their belly, they are motivated, they know what the concept of team stands for, and they never leave one of their fallen comrades on the field. 2 years ago, we were asked to come to the first inaugural national championship that was sponsored by Cadet Command up at Fort Knox, Kentucky. We've stood before you before, many years for state championships, but we never went to a national championship that had been sanctioned by Cadet Command. 2 years ago, or last year, we went, it was 28 degrees, and these kids woke up, and many of these same kids were on last year's national team, and our females finished 6th in the nation last year, and our males finished 10th. So when we came back this year, we knew there was some unfinished business at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and we had our eyesight on the prize. So this year we got on the bus 17 hours north on a charter bus. Our brigade sponsored us to go up there. They paid over $22,000 for charter buses and food and all this other kind of stuff. And these guys did not let us down. So it's my privilege to introduce you to some extraordinary young men and women that come to work an hour before school starts to work out. And then after school, when they're done with all those AP classes and all those other classes and stuff that they're in at school, they're out there on the field with me in 100-degree temperatures getting ready for these championships. Manatee County is the most competitive county in the state of Florida. Braden River High School, Manatee High School, and Palmetto High School, we win the state championships and we win the national championships every year. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to some exceptional cadets. Now, our cadets, their first name is Cadet, all right? So I'm going to introduce them as Cadet, and my name is Command Sergeant Major. They refer to me as Sergeant Major, and that's how we do business in ROTC. So the battalion commander of Manatee High School's program, Cadet Hall, Cadet Brody Hall. He's a senior. He's on his way to West Point. Got nominations from
wonderful.
Buchanan, Rick Scott, and Mark Palooka.
Wonderful.
Male team commander.
Nice job, young man.
Cadet Subdio, Cadet Hernandez, Cadet Lopez, Cadet Marquez, freshman, first year on the team, national champion. Cadet Nance,
Nice job, Cadet.
Cadet McClintock, Cadet Rodriguez, Cadet Hernandez, Cadet Vasquez, Gabriel Perez, Cadet Jackson, Cadet LaVoy, Cadet Coronel, another freshman, up-and-coming superstar, Cadet Colhane. Male team, female commander, Cadet Paige Christine, Cadet Cholette, Cadet Alexander, Cadet Cornell, Cadet Sparks, Cadet Christian, Cadet Mendoza, Cadet Marquise, Cadet Rodriguez, Cadet Perez, Cadet Lopez, and Cadet Moreno.
That's well fun.
And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it with my two female chaperones that stepped up. Mrs. Feliciano, she's here somewhere, and Mrs. Hernwicki, Paige's mom, is somewhere here as well, back there. Got to have the female chaperones and keep us honest and keep everything squared away. So couldn't be more proud of these kids' accomplishment, and all of them are off to great and super things in life.
Yes, they are.
That's wonderful.
Picture?
Also, here to be with the teams tonight, two teams from Manatee High, is Cadet Shannon Fleming, who's also the principal at the school. So we're going to get photos with the school board in the background.
Do you think they can see?
Would you stand up?
We are. Go Canes.
Okay. Great, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Go Canes, go! Good job, team.
Well done.
Mr. Chair.
Good job, you guys. Congratulations.
Congrats, Joe.
Thank you, Sergeant Major.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
Good to see you,
Thank
man.
you.
Thanks, Sergeant Major. Congratulations.
Okay. Just one more group of champions to honor. So,
Absolutely.
Sorry, we got a bunch of them. It's okay.
Bring them on.
Yeah, we could sit here all night and do this.
Yeah.
Probably could.
okay. One of the great things about Manatee County is, okay, we're going to face the wall.
Okay.
So the TV camera is right up there, so we want to make sure we're
There we go. Now, we got
There you
it now.
go.
So, but one of the great things about Manatee County is that we excel in so many different areas. You know, we're great at STEM, we're great at career and adult education, and you just saw what is going on in JROTC, now the arts. Braden River High School, the marching band of Pirates won the Class 2A state championship during the marching band championships in Palm Beach on November 16th, 2024. Schools from across the state participate annually in that competition, to prove who is the most successful or best marching band in the state of Florida. So to tell us more about that, I have the Braden River High Director of Bands, Cliff Dawson. So
Dr. Wysong, Board, thank you very much for this recognition tonight. It's so amazing to be part of like all these other things that are going on. We hear so much about all the other activities that kids do in schools, and so to honor what these other kids are doing as well is fantastic. So thank you very much for recognizing that. So on behalf of all the students, parents, staff, and the community partners for the Marching Band of Pirates, I thank you for this recognition. Joining me today is our principal, Mr. Butler, our now retiring Director of Color Guard, Ricardo Robinson-Chenault.
Retiring.
And I'm complete with a small delegate of incredibly important students for the Marching Band of Pirates. Starting here is Jonathan Pavone. He represents all the instrument wind-playing students. Jared Rodriguez, representing all percussion students. This is Sydney Fuller, representing all color guard students. And Alexa Mackey and Emma Robinson. They are our drum majors and represent the leadership and the whole of the 83 members of the Marching Band of Pirates. These specific students rise far above the level of expectation of your average student, putting in additional time and energy helping to motivate and lead their peers to achieve the level of excellence we as a staff expect. This year, like every year, is laced with its own variety of challenges, and at this point, we're all very versed in what detrimental impacts of hurricanes have on our community.
Yeah.
Marching band does not do well outside in the wind, nor in the rain. What the data doesn't have the ability to really show you is the strength of character that develops after overcoming large obstacles and challenges. And this year, your Marching Band of Pirates, under their student leadership, laid out a goal for the program that was profound through its simplicity. Simply put, let's be better than we were last year, not just better in one, better in all things. This simple moving of the needle has been our goal since our last championship in 2019, and these students and the ones preceding them have taken this philosophy to heart, allowing them to be the Marching of Pirates state champions once again. This is our 6th state championship, hopefully not our last, and this year earning it in flying colors, sweeping all captions, music, visual, general effect, percussion, and color guard, all happening for the Florida Marching Band Coalition State Championships on November 16th. While trophies and accolades are nice, to these students I feel safe in saying that the validation of knowing we were better than last year is data enough. I thank you again for your support on behalf of the MBOT family, and look forward to us continuing to be a badge of honor for Manatee County. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
One more picture.
You're okay.
I have a color guard in this one.
That's what he's trying to do.
by the way, I want to mention Executive Director of Secondary Schools, Sharon Scarborough is right there. So these are her schools. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Good job, Pirates. Well done. Good to see you, man.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. I just want to say one other thing. You know, it's just such a tremendous example of what the array of opportunities available through our public schools. And the fact that our students are taking advantage of those is a tremendous boon for Manatee County. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you,
Brown.
Mr. Barber.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all of those students. Love bringing champions into the meetings. All right, that moves us to item number 9, public comments. We do have 3 public comments this evening. Jack Lawrence, followed by Jack May and Trent Wayman. So, Mr. Jack Lawrence, come on up. And time will be right above you. 3 minutes. Go ahead.
My name is Jack Lawrence, and I'm a gay 11th grade student at Lakewood Ranch High School. Over the course of my years in school, I faced harassment and discrimination. However, none of this compared to the self-loathing I've felt surrounding who I am. No matter how much I yearned to change, I couldn't and will never. I spent a solid 4 years struggling with this, a struggle I firmly believe could have been expedited if I had a proper support network. Unfortunately for closeted teens whose experiences I share, familial support is few and far between. Because of familial rejection, internalized homophobia, and harassment, LGBT students face significantly higher rates of suicide, according to the Trevor Project, a nonprofit dedicated to ending suicide among this demographic. Regardless of personal opinion, I think we can agree that teenage suicide is never acceptable. So, with this sentiment, I founded a Gay Straight Alliance Club at my school. Our mission is to provide necessary resources that LGBT students can use to report discrimination, stand up for themselves, and exist safely and peacefully through student-led meetings and activities. However, due to the Parental Rights and Education Act, a law passed about 2 years ago, the school requires us to collect a parent's signed consent before a student may join. This effectively prevents any student who is not out of the closet to their parents from having access to support networks. The law explicitly states that school boards reserve the right to adopt procedures to withhold information from a parent if, quote, a reasonably prudent person would believe the disclosure would result in abuse, abandonment, or neglect. I'm simply here today to argue that, as reasonably prudent people, we should adopt such procedures. As the American Civil Liberties Union states, revealing a student's sexual orientation or gender identity can open an LGBT child to hostility, rejection, and even violence from their parents. By establishing such procedures, the closeted LGBT students who are the most at risk of familial rejection and suicide would be able to have a support network, possibly saving lives. By not establishing such procedures, these kids will lead lonely lives of self-loathing that could end decades before they should. The choice is yours. If we truly care about the livelihood of our country's students, our county's students, the answer is clear. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Jack May, followed by Trent Wayman.
Mr. Chair, School Board, Dr. Wysong. What I'm here to do tonight is to bring a redress of grievance, and I don't know if you're familiar with that process. It may take longer than 3 minutes, and I want to just read you what that process may be. First of all, I am Jack May. I'm quoting from Article 1, Section 5, the right to assemble. The people have the right to peaceably assemble, to instruct their representatives, and to petition for redress of grievances. The right to petition the government for a redress of grievance guarantees the right to ask the government to provide relief for a wrong, whether it be through litigation or other government action. Testimony may be given before the government at any level, and that's from the school board on up, all the way to Congress. A person or entity cannot be sued for exercising their constitutional rights of petition for redress of grievances, assembling peaceably, or free speech. The grievance that I bring before the board today concerns a board member. On Tuesday, November 19th, 2024, Charles Kennedy took the oath of office and was seated as District 3 Manatee County School Board member. Charles Kennedy failed to meet the legal residency requirements while living in District 2, swore an oath that he was duly qualified to hold office. I contend that he is not, at the time of taking the oath, established legal residency in District 3. His actual permanent residence is recorded as 2309 7th Avenue West, Bradenton, Florida 34205, which is in District 2. Being a legal resident and elector of Manatee County School Board District 3, I have standing to bring this grievance. One of the things that I noticed at the opening ceremony to induct those candidates that had been elected, this was their oath. I do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and the governments of the United States and the state of Florida, that I'm duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of school board member for which I am now about to enter, so help me God. Now, the definition of legal residency has been established by court decisions and also the Division of Elections, where they have opinions as well. residency in the county jurisdiction in which a person mentally intends his or her permanent residency to be that can be factually supported, factual evidence being that would be supportive by the intent that, but is not limited to, a Florida driver's license, tax receipts, bills of residency such as utilities, receipt of mail, homestead property, declaration of domicile, and other activities indicative of normally associated with home life. Once a person has established residency for voting purposes,
Mr. May,
that residency,
that was your 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, but I wish to inform you that this.
You can have my 3 minutes.
This takes, and I think Mr. Dye can probably attest to this, that this does not necessarily come under the rules of the public recourse.
I'll defer to the attorney, whatever your decisions are.
Yeah, this is just public comment, sir, and everybody gets 3 minutes.
So you will not accept this redress of grievance? Is that what I'm hearing?
We've accepted your written
Okay,
report.
but the fact is that there is also, I've done this before here, and time was not an issue. And the right that I have to not only bring this to you, but also to exercise the rights that I have to speak to, directly to, those who are governing and are showing governance here.
You can communicate with the board in a variety of ways, but every person at public comment just gets 3 minutes. We treat everybody exactly equal.
Then I would suggest that that you should make some sort of decision on this as to how you are to proceed as a board, because if not, then I am forced to go to the Division of Elections. And if you have read in its entirety what I've written here and understand what I'm saying, there are questions that you should be asking, and there are answers that I can be giving. So I want to put you on notice that that if necessary, I will be back, and I believe that this should be an agenda item, and I will press for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trent Wayman?
No comment.
Thank you. All right, that closes our public comments, and we will move to item number 10, which is reports and presentations. Dr. Breslin, I believe. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chairman. Tiffany Spradling, is Director of Secondary Curriculum, is going to take this presentation.
Come on down.
Good evening, Chair Choate, board members, Superintendent Weissong.
Good evening.
I'm here with our visual and performing arts specialists in the curriculum department. We have Ms. Rhea Skaggs, who many of you know, and then new to our department in, I think, the shortest retirement, based on what Mr. Barber said.
Exactly.
Mr. Ricardo Robinson-Chanel has joined our team as our newest visual and performing arts specialist, coming from Braden River High School with a wealth of experience and knowledge and expertise, and happy to have this incredible team now. And just as excited to share with you this evening a little recap of a Music Expo event series that began last month in November and is continuing through early in the spring as an opportunity to showcase our performing arts programming in Manatee County, and very grateful to have both Mr. Skaggs and Mr. Ricardo Robinson-Chanel in partnership with our principals and our performing arts teachers, our operations, Mr. Rinaldi's department. This was a big task, so happy to share kind of a recap of November's events. Okay, so this Music Expo event series, which kicked off this year and we hope to continue in the future, aligns with our strategic plan for our Ready for Life Goal 5, expand visual and performing arts programs across all schools. Strategy 3 reads to increase visual and performing arts course offerings across all schools that are unique to each school's school's student needs and interests. And this event meets, kind of serves to meet our metric for this strategy to increase the percentage of our students enrolled in performing arts areas. This event, of course, is also made possible by our arts millage funding that was able to handle transportation and handle the ins and outs of this series. So the Music Expo is an opportunity for our high school students and high school programs to showcase performing arts opportunities for elementary and middle school students. So depending on what the school's program offerings were, students were able to see performances in band, orchestra, jazz band, and chorus. And as I mentioned previously, this event took much planning and coordination, with principals, with performing arts teachers, and then, like I said, with our operations departments through transportation, a big undertaking. So we want to, again, thank principals and performing arts teachers in those departments for their dedication to making these events, which are truly powerful for students, and you'll see some nice video and photos here in just a moment. So not only was this a big undertaking in itself as an event, but also obviously due to the lost instructional time due to Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Some kind of shuffling around of scheduling had to happen. So big thank you to my team and to those for making that happen, and for the dedication of the principals who still made it possible to have these events despite some lost instructional time. So we had elementary students who were able to attend last month in November, actually the week prior to our Thanksgiving break, so just a few weeks ago. And with some shuffling around because of the hurricanes, we have our middle school students are able to attend in January. And this is obviously another opportunity. Our high schools are having two events, one for elementary, one for middle. So this is a really powerful series, and we're so grateful for the dedication. So on the next slide, you'll be able to see just how many schools were impacted just in November. So if you see, we have some high schools that were able to host in November, and then we have a lot of elementary students who were able to attend as well. And they were kind of grouped by some zoning, right? So we had schools go to their closest high school as a means to, and then we also had to shuffle because of sizes of auditoriums. So,
Yeah.
you know, it was a game of Tetris a little bit. So our visiting elementary students this past month were 4th and or 5th graders, depending on the school. So we had some schools that sent some 4th graders that are starting to think about their journeys in performing arts, and we had some 5th graders who are getting ready to transition to middle schools. So I am going to pass it to Ms. Skaggs, who's going to give you kind of a taste of what our elementary students were able to experience.
Very excited to be here. Thank you, Dr. Wysong. Thank you, school board. On the next slide, we have a promotional video that MSTV put together, and I want to thank MSTV because it was a very, very short turnaround with the Thanksgiving break, and they put this video together, and I'm not sure if I should play it from here, but I would like you to just not only notice the performers that are in here, but also the students watching and the joy on their faces. That was gratifying and rewarding.
Oh, our sound.
Don't make us sing.
I'll say our sound is
I'll go get
sketchy.
my cello.
It's trying.
Okay. Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
We asked him to be on backup. We love MSTV. We are very thankful for them. It's a catchy tune. next slide. It's a little syncing issue, but use your imagination. We had to for this one. So on this slide, we're going to go through the 5 schools that we're able to host and bring in a lot of elementary students. So this particular slide is the Braden River Music Expo, and they performed and featured their state and nationally recognized wind ensemble, jazz band, chorus, including their advanced vocal ensemble, River Rhapsody. They also featured their string orchestra. All of their music ensembles, their large ensembles, are all superior rated, and some of them are nationally rated. Obviously, you just recognized the state championship marching band. So these students are not only focused on one activity, they're doing multiple, and they're jumping from one to the other. They did their expo on November 18th, which happened to be 2 days after they got back from the state marching band championship.
Wow.
So just to let you know what kind of character is being built in and taught and instilled in these students. The faces of joy on the students attending was just more than we had expected, and the screaming of the elementary students, it was really quite moving. It brought many of our teachers to tears to have music teachers be appreciated quite like that. So the next slide is, I will do this one, the Parish Community Music Expo, which was on the 19th of November, Tuesday, and they hosted over 830 elementary students all at one time.
Wow.
But I also have to add that they were 830 plus very well behaved elementary students. They were, the teachers that brought them really set them up to have an enjoyable experience. So we want to thank those teachers and the chaperones. The Parish Community Music Department featured performances by their state superior rated jazz band, their string orchestra, their wind ensemble, their vocal ensembles, and the narration for the entire event during all the transitions was provided by the Bulls Theater leadership students. In the center photo of this particular slide, I want you to notice that is our very own Parish Community High School assistant principal, Paul Champagne, who is also a professional pianist, but he accompanies, yeah, you didn't know that. He accompanies the choral program often, and he also plays for many of the Broadway musicals that the theater company does. So hats off to him. He's very supportive. We're thrilled to have him here in the district. So, and the next slide. On November 20th, we actually had 2 expos going on at the same time, so we split our duties there, and I was able to attend Manatee High School's Music Expo. They hosted over 700 elementary students all at one time, and I will give a shout out to Miss Fleming, who was able to get those students in and out in record time. So I hats off to her for that. They showcased and featured their vocal jazz arrangement. Their chorus sang a jazz arrangement of the national anthem, which brought tears to several people that were there. It was just incredibly moving. Their advanced choral students performed, their fiddlers performed, their string orchestra, their jazz band, and their wind ensemble. One of the attending elementary teachers commented in the post-expo survey that it brought tears to her eyes by the beautiful choral performances of the national anthem. And notice that the center photo shows a Manatee High School alumnus. Her name is Elizabeth. It was Grabowski, but now she's married. It's Elizabeth Mata, and she graduated Manatee High School, went on, got her music education degree, and now she is a music teacher at Prine Elementary. So she was able to bring her children to the expo. It made her day.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Absolutely.
Elizabeth is a former student of mine.
Yay!
When I was teaching at Manatee High.
She was another one that had tears in her eyes. She was
And-
just very moved by the whole thing that, it came full circle. For
Yeah,
her.
this is the best thing about the district, to see your former students
Yep.
coming
To
up,
be
and
a
now they're,
district
and now they're
they want to
colleagues.
return to. Yeah.
So proud of her.
No pressure there with all of us, to create that. So yeah, she's at Prine Elementary. The students were giving a rousing exit by the Manatee High School drumline, and so they didn't want to leave. They were literally hanging out the windows on the buses, not unsafe, but they were escorted out by the drumline. So that was incredibly energized. Also, going a little bit out of order on Thursday, Bayshore High School hosted their music expo, and they featured their wind ensemble, their jazz band, their color guard, and their marching band. And the students were educated in the different string and wind instruments. So they did an performance, I think that's what they call it. So they were able to learn what the different instruments were, what they looked like, what they sounded like, and how they could have access to them. The music department leadership students were incredible as they led the question and answer session at the very end of this particular showcase. They were very professional and very well received by the younger students. That made a huge connection for our elementary students. It was interesting to hear so many of the elementary students that were attending, or the teachers that were attending, they actually came up because most of them had gone through a band, a choir, and an orchestra when they were in high school. And they all commented on how those musical experiences prepared them for everything that they did in life and helped them learn problem-solving skills, team-building skills, and what it's like to work on a team where you make a contribution, you're accountable to the greater whole. It was fun to hear so many oohs and ahs from the students all the way throughout the showcase, and they were so impressed with the auditoriums that when these students left these high schools, they were not only oohing and ahhing, but they were cheering and they were turning around and screaming, "I want to go to Bayshore when I get to high school." And Mr. Scott Cooper was standing there, and he was able to bask in that moment of all of the accolades from the students. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ricardo, to go over the rest of this.
Hi, so I'm going to talk about the Palmetto Music Expo. It was coordinated between the orchestra, the chorus, and the jazz band. As the students were entering the building, they were given a spirited performance from the Palmetto drum line. And you would think, giving all that energy walking into a room with a bunch of 4th and 5th graders, that it would have been wild and crazy. But when the lights came down for the performances to start, all of the kids literally were on the edge of their seats, and they were enthralled by watching the high school students. At the end of each of our music expos, we did a question and answer session with the students, and we did a question and answer session with the students where we allowed the elementary students to ask questions of the high school students. And there were some very interesting things that came about that, but one of the biggest things that the kids were excited about was the fact that they could find out that they could do more than one thing when they got to high school, that they could be in multiple music ensembles, that they could also participate in sports, that they could participate in other extracurricular activities. And when they were able to know that fact, their excitement level grew even more. We also found that they didn't understand the fact that all of those students who were performing in front of them had only started performing just a few years before this. So they realized that, like, because they're in 4th and 5th grade, most of these students started in either 6th grade or some even started in 9th grade with their instruments or their singing to be able to be in these ensembles. So the students asked a lot of questions about rehearsal time outside of it, and our high school students were so well trained because they are our future leaders that they were able to speak openly and honestly about that. And here's some of the feedback, if you just look at the screen, from the elementary students after they returned back to their schools. I'll give you a second for that.
That's so great.
And there's hundreds more just like this, by the way.
Literally.
And I'll move on to the next slide. So in addition, our teachers and our school administrators were also surveyed following the Music Expo. Please, again, take a moment to look at some of the feedback that we received. And speaking with some of the teachers who participated in music programs when they were in middle school and high school, it was very heartwarming to hear them get excited about bringing their students in to see this and sharing that joy. In fact, one of our elementary principals said that if it had not been for being in a music program when she was in school, that she would not have stayed in school, much less gone through becoming a teacher and later becoming a principal. and that she really hoped that a couple of her students were able to find the same joy in that. So it was a nice moment.
I just have one question. It seems that we're focusing on the elementary to feed into the high schools. What about reaching out to the middle to get through?
That's a great segue. So again, some of our middle school events needed to be rescheduled. We were
Okay.
able to, give principals the option to stay in November or to move the event into January, and then we were
Okay.
grateful that our high schools were able to then accommodate 2 events. So,
Okay.
so that kind of leads us into what's next. So the big piece is continuing these events right off the bat. It says spring 2025, but it really is the first 2 weeks in January. And that is for our 8th graders to attend Miss Bray. So,
Okay.
so Braden River and Parish Community, you saw them host in November. They are right on board with hosting for some feeder middle schools in January. We also have some tentative events scheduled for Lakewood Ranch and for Southeast, which would be the 2 high schools that you didn't see then.
Right.
Going to be offering in the spring. And then once we are able to confirm those dates solidly, we will then send invitations to each of you and to Dr. Weissong and to some other cabinet members who are interested in attending.
Mr. Tatum has a question.
Yes.
Yes, I'm a big fan of the arts. I have a very important question.
Okay.
And so, any of you musicians, professional musicians? I guess this is a question I hope to get answered. I mean, I could Google it, but since you're here, I want to get it solved. And by the time I go see my maker, what is the difference, if there is one, between a fiddle and a violin? You said there were fiddlers, and I'm.
This is a burning question I have too, Mr. Tatum.
I don't know.
Stylistic playing.
Yeah, it's just so fiddle is a violin. It's just how you play it. See,
Yeah.
I know I can go to my grave.
The
Great
southern,
question.
sorry, southern thing.
That's right. What side of the Mason-Dixon
Fiddle
line
has a
is it?
twang.
Yeah.
Ms. I'm sorry. Ms.
I'm
Felton
good.
had a question too.
Hi. How did you determine which schools went to which schools to visit? Did you choose like proximity, where they might end up going?
That was fun. I like jigsaw puzzles, a little bit of that, but I took the seating capacity in the auditoriums and then just pieced together the nearest schools, the feeder school patterns. And then we did have to adjust a little bit. Obviously, we had some schools that couldn't get it scheduled because of the hurricanes.
Yeah.
We gave options. So it's a jigsaw puzzle. It's taking, if the school has 383 8th graders, we compare them with this, and the drive time is going to fit within the schedule that we're allowing.
Okay.
So there's a whole schematic and a whole spreadsheet that we put together. So everybody was included. Nobody got left out.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
So
Just an additional,
Sorry.
for like, my mind went blank for King Middle into Manatee High. Because Manatee band needs some students coming up
Well, that's part of
this,
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. It's
So,
educating the students so that they know what's there because they've never
Right.
gone to experience.
right,
And the feedback is just incredible, stating like, I had no idea that the band sounded like this. Our own teachers are remarking that they had no idea that the bands, the choirs, and the orchestras performed at the quality level that they do.
Right.
They're very high standard right here in our own district. And yeah, that's a focus, and that is
Okay.
an opportunity that we've already spoken to Ms. Fleming about,
All right.
reaching out to those schools. So
Okay.
yes, recruiting is a big aspect.
wonderful.
So we're, continuing to get some feedback and through our surveys and hoping for bigger and better events, hopefully involve some visual arts at next year's events and, continue to build and grow.
Ms. Felton?
Oh, so I was just actually going to say, so this is something you hope to keep doing every year?
Absolutely.
I was a band geek. I did color guard. I couldn't do any other athletics. That was my thing. So it's really awesome to be able to see the arts highlighted in this way for our coming up kids. I really am appreciative of that. That's great. Thank you.
Chat if I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to commend you all on your teams. People show up at events like this and everyone's just blown away, but they have no idea all the paperwork and logistics
Logistics.
that it took to put that thing together. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate the effort, and I know it'll pay off on the other side. So thank you all for.
That's wonderful.
We definitely want to thank the executive leadership for supporting this and giving us the go-ahead to do it. So that's where it all started. So.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, you all said the kids don't know, students don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And your fourth and fifth grade kids don't know that, hey, in 3 years I could do this and be on stage and do what they're doing. And I think it's phenomenal. That's good. I think this is that self-recruiting, right? We're self-recruiting our own kids to do great things. So
Yeah.
it's good.
We did hear one teacher say, and I guess it's a little bit of a blessing, but obviously the fifth graders go to the Young Persons Concert for Sarasota Orchestra, and that was canceled this year again. And one of the music teachers laughed, and she said, I would much rather bring my kids to this. It's more relatable. They're closer to the action. It just had so much more of an impact on them. So, no
That's
offense
great.
to anybody else, but it really was very successful.
I'm sure there's probably older brothers and sisters on stage
Exactly.
that people knew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Thank you for your
it's
support.
awesome. Thank you all.
Thank
See
you
you-
so
see you in
much.
Thank you very
January.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Recruit the hallways. Got to recruit the hallways. All right, that brings us to item number 11, consent items. Superintendent Weissong.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of the consent agenda for December 10th, 2024.
So moved. Sorry, let me get my button.
I will second.
We got a motion and a second. So let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the consent items for this evening. Waiting for Granicus to catch up.
Oh, I didn't hit motion.
I see a motion. I don't need to see a second.
There you go. You got it.
Okay, there it goes.
Now we got it. Now we're rolling. I think.
There we go.
There we go. All right. And the consent items are approved 5-0. All right, moving on to item number 14, new business. Superintendent Weissong, item number 1.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of the budget amendments for October 2024.
So moved.
Yeah, we got a motion?
Second.
Second, and we'll bring up Ms. Sellers for the budget amendments.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, so the month of October, we saw 342 budget amendments. That was over 3,400 chart strings. And there were 5 chart strings that were over $1 million in just 2 funds, 2 chart strings in the general fund and 3 in the capital fund. The general fund was related to recording the revenue from the school recognition awards. And in the capital fund, this was the local capital improvement. That's the 1.5 mil fund. And this is where we moved the revenue for the SSC, the water damage, insurance loss recovery, essentially from the miscellaneous revenue object code over to loss recovery. And then we also established the budget for Hurricane Milton damage. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Don't see anyone lit up to speak. I know we go over during our briefing, so thank you very much. All right, so we had a motion and a second to approve the budget amendments for October 2024. Let's go ahead and vote on those. And those amendments are approved 5-0. All right, item number 2 and 3 kind of go together. So if you want to go ahead and just do it all together, explain it. But we'll still go through the process of motion on it. Dr. Weissong.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of Manatee Technical College Aviation Classroom Amendment 1 between owner and Schenkel and Schultz, Inc. in the amount of $139,209 from multiple funding sources.
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second on the floor. I believe Ms. Spray
Yep,
was an item that you wanted to discuss?
I did. One of the problems, I read this project from front to back. And one of the problems I have with this is this was supposed to be a appropriations that we got the funds for from the state. but it was also supposed to be like a rolling funded program by the state. That was the initial intent. If you look at Article 52 in this project, it does say the leasing agreement and the programming by leasing is subject to continuous funding by outside parties, including the state of Florida. We have zero funding other than appropriations from the state. We have zero funding from the airport. Matter of fact, I'll get to that part. And we have zero funding from USF. And of course, the board was there at the groundbreaking. There was so many partners into this, but I think this project has been basically dumped in our lap. Prior board and superintendent started this back in 18, I believe, and started pulling everything together. I even heard that a former board member wanted the hangar to be named after them. I'm not kidding.
I'm sure you're not.
Yeah.
So you'll have to name it after me. It's okay.
Yeah. So, and I've done a lot of talking to different people that was involved with this. It's on the west side of the airport. Initial was supposed to be on the east side of the airport. The project was supposed to start out on the other side of the airport, but they wanted it, the airport said, no, we'll give you this property on the east side of the airport where there may be contamination. Don't know, we've done some very small soil sampling there, samplings. But my problem is including the state of Florida. Now, some people will argue the point that the state gave us a $5 million appropriation. But this was supposed to be a continual, I mean, UF, the college in Tallahassee, SCF, a lot of those are state-funded colleges. It was my understanding with this project, when I came on the board, that this would be a state-funded type college, that MTC would run the program. The airport was going to design and pay basically for the design work, which is very minimal compared to what we're seeing now, and that we were going to have this joint, we talked earlier about partnerships with people. I think that the partners kind of bailed on this one. We're going to be charged, understand this, $70,000 or $50,000 or $70,000 a year if you add in increases of 1% over the term of this lease for 50 years to do this. And then we have to pay for the instructions, the instructional time, the instructors, the curriculum, the upkeep of the building. The state can say, here's your $5 million to build it. Here's your contribution from MTC because they fully support the program. But the school district is going to be on the hook for everything. I can't see that we're going to generate enough student revenue. I just don't see enough student revenue that would pay and support the lease and the instructors and the maintenance of this building. And if we went into this with the open mind with all of these partners involved, but then we see Article 52 that was, I'm going to turn to Mr. Dye at why did you think that this particular article was built into this agreement?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Spray. So I worked on the drafting of the lease and with the former general counsel. and most of my interaction was also with former Superintendent Saunders, who really did the negotiation with the airport. That clause that Ms. Spray's, Vice Chair Spray is referring to is in the lease. So it's a lease from the airport authority to the school district. And that provision was put in near the end of the negotiation that gave the district, the school district, the ability to terminate the lease if a funding source wasn't put into place to pay for the program. And Ms. Saunders, it was important to her that it not just fall on the district, that the program receive other partners that would pay for it on an ongoing basis. So it wasn't just an allocation for the physical building, it was also for the programming out of that building. So that's why that was put in near the end of the negotiation with the airport, and they agreed to it.
With the airport,
With the airport authority.
I'm guessing with Mr. Piccolo
Yeah.
and that board. Okay. What contribution, I know USF was involved, they were also there at the groundbreaking. Was there any talks, according to what I could read, they were all for all of this, but was there any talk on their making financial contributions to this project or ongoing funding, perhaps provide an instructor or the curriculum or anything for this program at all?
I wasn't privy to any of that discussion.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you this back in a second, but I know Mr. Kennedy was as well. I don't recall, unless we can go back and look in minutes, I don't recall there ever being any, USF was a part of it because of aerospace engineering they were adding that was gonna be incorporated, that could then help attract kids to aviation. I don't ever remember in the past 3 or 4 years we discussed this, getting funding from any other source other than ourselves. It was in our capital 5-year plan, I believe, MTCs, and the appropriations. I don't remember there ever being discussion that the airport was going to give X amount of dollars, or USF, or UF, or FSU, or SCF, or anyone else. I don't remember that at all. So, but I could be wrong, absolutely. If it's in the minutes, or
Right.
it's somewhere. I could definitely be wrong, but I don't
Right.
remember any of that. This is all going to be on our shoulders to start the program, bring in the kids, not the kids, students, bring in the instructors, etc. I don't believe it was ever going to be a true, we're getting partners and getting money from other people. Not saying we can't go seek that later on, but I don't think that was ever the original intent.
Right. And the reason I'm bringing up Article 52 is because, and I have copies here if the board needs it, stating that
Mr.
this.
Rinaldi sent it to us.
Right, right. I particularly printed
30
just
on the email.
52, right, 25 of the document. I'm just worried about this, the state of Florida funds other colleges. And to me, this was going to be a state program, not an MTC or a Manatee, that this was going to be a state program at the airport. And it's not that I don't think that we shouldn't have this. I just think that the way this was put together and then throw in this article that the state is going to be a continual funding source for us, just like they are with other colleges. That's just I just feel
I think
like
there's funding sources that
we would have
workforce
to.
sources, et cetera, that we can go get, grants
Right,
from the
but
state that we can go get.
Right, it's not a guaranteed funding source. We don't get a cost per student. We don't get a BSA for this. That's what I'm saying. This is adult career, so.
Yeah, there's different funding, yeah. Let me let her finish. When she's done, I'm definitely gonna come to Dr.
That's all
Gaines
right.
to answer everything. I just wanna make sure all your questions are asked, so Dr. Gansmere can answer whatever we need to answer.
Mr. Dyke, given what you know about this now, would you have recommended that the board move forward with this Article 52, the way it's written?
Well, it doesn't fall on me to make that decision. I can just tell you that I was there when the negotiation was done, and the Superintendent Saunders wanted that provision in there. So.
But can I ask you a question about Article
Sure.
52? That's not I mean, unless I'm reading it wrong, that's not a bad thing for us. That's us stepping away from the program. If we're not being funded or supported the right way we should,
Exactly.
we can step away. Now, granted, we're putting the appropriation money and things like that into the building, I get. But that's allowing us to say we're out.
Yes, it's a protection.
We're not paying the rent anymore, the lease, we're out. It's a protection for us.
Yes, it gives the district leverage against the airport authority, that you can terminate the lease if you run out of financing sources for the
Right.
program.
Okay.
Okay, that's a different way to look at that. Because in my mind, it was a state-funded program. We would build it, provide whatever we needed for it, but it had to be a continual revenue stream from the state, not just students, not just the students. I talked to a board member up in Pinellas. They have a program up there. They get certificates, although it's not, I don't know if it's a program to this level, but they have one at their high school, and then another program that they can go from the high school into an airport or a hangar of some sorts. Really, it was a lot of racket. I couldn't hear all the details, but it was similar to what we're talking about here, and it wasn't a whole building. I mean, we went from just talking to people, this was going to be a $15 million project, to seeing that we're not going to get any more than the 5 from the state. And then MTC is generous to add on to that, to now being, I don't know, 7-8 million for the initial. That's not counting unforeseen things that might come up as this goes through. I just don't want us to be totally on the hook for this. I'm seeing what you're saying, Chair, that this could be the out if this gets. We have this big building and we only had 10 students, 20 students, 50 students a year. That's not going to pay for itself with a $70,000 a year lease, plus maintenance, plus that.
Sure.
Right, so this is why I pulled it. I just want everyone to understand the gravity of what we are looking at if we don't have a whole lot of student participation.
I'm going to ask Dr. Gansby if you can kind of just relay.
I'm not dissecting a
A
problem.
little bit about the
need to-
program, what the funding is. Last time I heard, I think we already have a waiting list of people who are wanting to get into this program when it's ready and up and going. Can you talk about the funding sources of once this program is really up and running and going, what does this look like?
Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah.
And the school board, Dr. Wysong. I hear your concern, Ms. Spray, about we want to make sure we can be able to fund it, because we want to make sure we do that with all of our programs at MTC. We can't have one program cost a lot and then we use tuition from another program to cover it. So I hear your concern, and I followed along and I listened to all your questions, so I kind of did a page of notes, and I'll try to answer each one as I can. As Mr. Dye said, obviously this was done, it was constructed many years ago, but it passed in '22. So a lot of times when you have an idea of what you want to do with the program, you have to build in exit clauses to be able to help out in case things happen. So I think that's the intent of this. As I look at it, we see funding from the state. So part of that was the legislative request. Originally, we requested $9.5 million. legislation didn't pass that, they passed the 5.5. As far as it being a continuous funding source, that could be considered through the tuition. We do get an FTE through tuition. Our students pay a certain amount per each hour, and we do receive funding from the state based on students, their participation in the hours that is given to the school to be able to fund the program. So that could be seen as that continuous state funding. You had mentioned about the airport. Okay, what kind of money did they put into it? When this was all put together, the airport actually paid to prepare the land, to put in the concrete landing that's there, to clear the land. They've done the parking lot that's adjacent to it in that area. So they've pretty much prepared that. At the same time, they put up funding to come up with the original plan of what the school would look like. As we started finding funding for the project, that plan was a little bit larger than what we could afford, and you had mentioned that too. So what we did is we reached out to different sources to be able to get funding to find out what we could do to come up with the plan. In the land lease agreement, the CEO would have to agree to that plan. So Dr. Weissong, myself, Mr. Wagner, and Mr. Rinaldi had a chance to meet with Mr. Piccolo about this plan, and he thinks it's a great plan. It's not exactly as what the original one was, but it's comparable. Instead of 2 stories, it's 1 story, but it still would be able to house as many students. Another thing that we did to be able to help get the funding is it's really 2 projects, and that's why it's on here as 2 separate items, because it's 2 funding sources. So the funding sources that are helping each of these projects has to be shown different. I was at the meeting when USF was there, and the way it was presented was for us to try to get the funding from the legislative request was that we wanted to show Manatee County, Sarasota County, and USF as partners, educational partners, not only through the high schools and through secondary, but also through the technical colleges, along with USF, to show that the 3 of us as educational institutions will be working hard to be able to help with these students with the program. The original intent of the program is the airframe to power plant program, and that's a program that is run through technical colleges, or it can go through state colleges too, but we're doing it through MTC. So when I hear state programs, state running it, we don't really have any state programs in Florida that the state runs. It's typically going to be either a technical college, state college, or university that runs it. So that's why it'd be MTC. So it's really an MTC program, but the partnership is STC. How is STC a part of that? Well, they'll be a part of it as it grows. They'll have a teacher. They'll be able to fund that teacher to be a part of it. They're going to roll stuff out to high schools for recruiting and doing that. So that's the partnership between the technical colleges. With USF,
SCC, excuse me, Sarasota Technical College.
I'm sorry, Sarasota Technical College. I'll be doing a lot of acronyms, so I'll have to remember. I apologize. And with the University of South Florida, Dr. Holbrook wanted to be a part of it as an extension to our students that we would have, that we could do some add-on certificates to make our students more attractable than other students that are in other programs like it around the state, because they would be able to have that add-on. At the same time, she's looking to build an aeronautical engineering program. Actually, it's mechanical and aeronautical engineering program. And what I had suggested to her is not only this program with MTC, those students could go to USF from there, but even in a high school, maybe we have a program that we push down to our high school that could also go to USF. So now that shows high school, MTC, USF, Suncoast Technical College. I get used to my acronyms and I forget it. I apologize. And then the other thing that we want to try to do is we could push it down into our middle school engineering, and we have elementary STEM, to where it really could be a K-12 technical college, state college, just run through. So that's what was presented to the legislation to get the $5.5 million. Okay. So that's the partnership part of it. As Chairman Choate said, there wasn't really a handshake of, yes, USF's going to bring this and much money, and Sarasota's going to bring this much money. That wasn't really the partnership. The partnership was the education and the agreement that we would work together on the educational side. just to share some excitement before I get to some other answers, our EDC here with Ms. Hillstrom, she's done a lot working with the airport as they go out and talk about not only what we're doing, but some of the other educational things that are happening at the airport. A lot of people are excited about the support of the 3 educational institutions to be able to help this happen. And the excitement is growing to where we actually have an ecosystem, and a lot of the companies are coming to the table. A lot of times the companies are saying, what do you need, what do you need? That'll be a part of it. We would like, maybe you can help us with scholarships for students. Maybe you can, we have in the plan that there's a second hangar. Maybe you guys can help us support that hangar. So I think as we do this program and we produce great students, I would say everybody who's at the airport will start contributing more as a partner, as well as be a part of our advisory committee to be able to help out with that. Originally, we're going to start with at least one cohort, so it'll be about 25 students. We could probably start 2 classes at the same time with 50 students. But the idea is we would have 2 cohorts going at the same time. So we would have a cohort that's doing the airframe part first. As they go to power plant, we would start the next one at the same time. So a day program, we could have 50 students. We also want to expand it to where we can do a night program, so we can expand it to 100 students to be able to make that happen. The programs, each of those programs are about 1,350 hours each, which is about a year. So if I'm going to do the whole program, it will probably take me about a year and a half, 2 years to get through the program if I were to do the whole program. And that's where STC could be a partner. They could do a cohort, we could do a cohort. As we build this, those partnerships will come, to the surface to see how we can make it work. The other thing was the airport really worked with us when we were working the deal. Originally, it was about $72,000 a year for the rent, and it was at a 3% raise each year. And we discussed with them your concern. Okay, that's a lot of money. We don't know if we can keep up with that. We don't want to start something all of a sudden and we can't do it and we fold it up. So they worked with us to where they went from that $72,000 down to the $50,000, the 3% down to the 1%. So I think the airport as a partner has done a lot, not necessarily giving us money for the project to happen, but they've put in a lot for it to be able to make it work to where it could be successful. I think I hit everything that I had on my notes that you had some questions about.
We do have some more questions
Right.
from other board members.
Right. Do you project then that we will end up with partners? I'm thinking, the engines, the Rolls Royces, all of the other, big engines that we use on our jets today. Our former pilot over there probably knows more about it than I do, but do you see that as being a potential?
And if I can actually speak about the program itself, in the program, we apply for grants. We did a CAP grant that was approved by the board, and in that CAP grant was a lot of equipment and things that we would need for this program. So we're going to keep applying for grants and getting money to be able to help with that. My son had gone through the program at another technical college in the state, and when they work with engines, there is a trainer engine that is not pulling a Rolls Royce off of one of the big giants, as they call it.
Right.
So we do have trainer models that we can use that is inexpensive, that we don't have to have a Learjet or a 757 sitting outside to work with. Of course, we're always open to donations.
Right. There's where I'm going with that.
So we'll be able to get donations. I've already been told a lot of people want to donate and whatnot. Okay. I have worked with 2 other programs in the state. One is in Charlotte County, and the other one's in Polk County. And one of the things they always warned me is a lot of people are going to want to donate a lot of things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for the program. So there might be some things that people want to donate that we say thank you, but we don't need it at this time, and it's not to be offensive to those people. But if someone donates an airplane, that's great. But if we get 15 airplanes, okay, where are we going to park them? Now we're going to pay rental to park an airplane. So you are correct. Typically, you're going to get about a Cessna, a 152 or something like that, because that's what they learn on. For jet engines, if somebody wants to donate a Learjet and it works, that's probably a little bit higher than we'll work with. But we do have teachers and trainers that we can get that they're going to learn from. A lot of times people will donate different types of wings and whatnot, because we also have to work on the airframe part,
Right.
which is the skeleton of the plane and how to work on rivets and how to repair the metal. They also teach wood frame. That's still part of the FAA curriculum. And in a meeting today, a lot of people were saying that's kind of antiquated. But a lot of it is. There's still a lot of airplanes out there that people have that they need fixed, and our job is to train our mechanics to be able to do it all. And it's really, the training is through general aviation, not necessarily commercial aviation. One of the questions on the ecosystem today was, I heard a lot of jets, and I told them, we have to teach the curriculum that we're supposed to for FAA. We can always add to the curriculum. So if our partners say, well, we need a lot more help with this or this and this, we're going to ask them, great, can you have some of your people be an instructor, part-time, covert and hover shows? Can we go over to your hangar and work on some of the things that you have? So there's a lot of things that we can still do that will be cost saving. I'm sorry?
Or build the second hangar.
Or build the second hangar.
Yes, yes, ma'am. So that's some of the things we're looking for, and I know I get excited about a lot of things, but I really am excited about this program because I can really see the whole community, both Sarasota and Manatee, rallying around this. USF has someone who they work with, and he actually works out of Miami, and he's excited about what we're doing educationally, what we're doing with the partnerships. So we have a lot of people that really are now attracted to this, and some people have said that what we're establishing could be a model that could be shared not only around our state, but around the nation of what a community should be doing to support an industry. And right now, we're just talking airplane mechanics. There are other programs we could do. We can do ground school, we can do avionics, we can do a lot of other things that would feed into the USF program as well. So
I just want to make a point before I let you go on to, I pulled this because I don't get a chance to talk to any of you about this. And I'm like, I really wanted to have this in-depth conversation, especially with new board members. You were involved, obviously, Mr. Kennedy, but Ms. Felton was not. I wasn't here when this initially started. I just have been following it. And, you know, sometimes people are offended that I might want to pull something. Typically, I just want to be able to have an open conversation with my colleagues up here. And I'm not here to put a knife through this. I'm here to understand, you know, what we're getting into. And if we have a clause here now that could be flipped either way. If it's not performing like we want it to, we have an out. If they say we're not performing, they have an out. But I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to bring it up because we don't get to talk. That was my primary thing, and when I saw that, I'm like, wait, the state funds everybody else, why can't they fund us year over year over year? So that was my biggest thing, was finding out more about that. Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Well, I'll congratulate you on doing your homework. Good.
Thank you.
A from a former college
Yeah.
professor, good for you. Yeah. So, Dr. Gansmer, can you explain the FT state funding process for technical college students, please?
Yes.
Well, the state allows us to charge a certain amount per hour.
Okay.
And then as we do tuition, we charge that, so that comes in as tuition.
Okay.
And then tuition could be used anything to be able to run that program. So it could be used to fund the teacher. Right now, we're using another grant we were able to get to be able to fund the teacher. So now the funding that we would have used out of tuition to fund the teacher can be used for the program. The state typically has different grants that goes out to be able to improve a program, to expand a program, to be able to add to the program. So between the grants and between the tuition that we receive, and then we receive workforce dollars based on our attendance in the program. And the state usually takes a 3-year average of the enrollment of the school to be able to give the funding. So obviously the first year we only have that 1 year of students, but as we build and as we get further into it, we'll be able to get more funding back to help with the program.
So when you use the term FTE, I mean, to me, that's a very specific term, and it means we have a number of students at a school, and the state sends us a certain amount of money based on a number of students. But that's really not how it works at the technical college, right? I want to make.
The only thing that's different is they do send us money for how many students we have,
Okay.
and then they pull the tuition out. But we still collect the tuition.
Hold it. Can you give me an example? I want to go to do your plumbing college or your plumbing program, and I pay $3,000 in tuition.
So you pay $3,000 with that. The state gives us, it's about $5,000 per student for the funding to come into the program. So I'm making, like you said, it's just an example, per hour. So let's say it's so many hours we bring in for the program with about 25 students, we bring in $600,000 for the program. The state already backed out the tuition that the students are paying. So they pull out whatever the students are paying. So you paid $3,000 for the program, and we have 20 students, so we pull that out, but we still get the balance of that. So the first part that the state puts together comes to us with the workforce dollars. And the second part of it comes to us through the tuition that we collect.
The workforce dollars. That's an allocation, a legislative allocation on just like an FTE at the K through 12 level. Basically,
Correct.
what I hear you saying is that for every student that enrolls in a program at a technical college, the state actually does provide a certain amount of money.
Correct.
But let's say it's $5,000 per student, and that I, as the student, pay the tuition of $3,000. Then you, as the technical college, get $2,000 of that.
From the state, and then we get the $3,000
from the student. So there is actually an FTE, but the total of what the college gets is the FTE minus whatever the tuition is for the program based on its hourly rate or something like that.
Right, and I'm probably missing some pieces because the actual formula, just like the formula for K-12, is like 18 things long, and you have to figure this out and figure it out.
It's a government program.
I'm trying to simplify something that's very involved.
Okay, that's fine. That's a high enough level for me to understand.
Okay.
Also, though, the college also gets reimbursement for every student that successfully completes and then goes out and gets a job. Is that true, or do I understand that correctly, or there's some type of reimbursement there? Or,
I think the reimbursement you might maybe speaking about is if they're working with a company and the company can be able to get the workers' comp back. Is that what you mean? Or?
I don't know. I thought I remember in a conversation with Mr. Wagner that for you to show that a program is viable and to get this funding from the state, you had to show that there was a certain, that the program, when people graduated from these programs, they're actually getting jobs. And you actually send a survey to them and you say, you have a job, and you track them down, you go knock on their door if they don't fill it out, because there's some type of reimbursement you get from the state based on how many people get a job out of the programs that you provide. But maybe I misunderstood.
Well, and that's part of the accreditation process is that there's three parts to the accreditation. That's enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a high enrollment. If you have a course that only has 2 or 3 students over 3 years, okay, maybe that's not the best course to have.
Okay.
Completion, it's always good that somebody completes the program.
Mhm.
And there's a certain percentage. I think one of the workshops that we've done, we kind of talked about MTC and all that.
Mhm.
So the completion rate has to be a certain amount, but the actual placement, and that's what you're saying, is that they get a job, so they're being placed into the job. And we do have to report that to our accreditation agency to continue the program. And sometimes schools don't do that with a certain amount of programs, and then they have to go into a process to where they have to fix that. And then to be able to stay viable. So, but I can check with Mr. Wagner about the question that you have.
Okay. That just goes into the state funding question. That's why I'm asking. But we actually do get an FTE from the state for every technical college student that comes to the school. Is that correct, Dr. Gansmer? Okay. So that, to me, seems to satisfy the parties, including the state of Florida. Okay. And then along with outside parties, what is the airport providing? I assume that, they do have to do some security around the building. They probably pay for some lights on the ramp or something like that, or
Yeah, they've prepared the ramp.
Right.
And,
Okay.
they have security for the whole airport.
Right.
I think I know that hasn't come up into discussion at this time, but I know as we move forward, that'll be some of the things. As far as the building and the security of the building and make sure it's locked and all that, that's our responsibility.
Right, sure.
But as you say, you know, do they have security that goes around to all the campuses or, you know, around the whole airport? That have to be something I'd have to check with the airport.
Yeah.
Okay, which I'm sure they do. I'm almost positive, but that is, they are providing us some amount of security there. Okay, let's see. How about Space Florida? And I'm not really, I've spoken with Space Florida a number of times at the FSBA, and it seems like they are an advocate. They are a quasi-governmental organization that is an advocate for the aerospace industry in Florida. And it seems like the organization is a positive organization that moves the aerospace industry forward in Florida, but are they participating in this in any way? Is there any way they could participate in this, that they could be quote unquote an outside source that could help us with some funding? Or anyway, I'll just pose that question to you.
I can only comment on what I know, and that's pretty limited. I have had a chance to go to different meetings. Space Florida does a great job helping different organizations out with that too. So there's been some discussion, but we've really concentrated on us moving forward with finding the funding. They don't necessarily provide funding. Again, they go out and find the funding with that, and then I don't know if there's a fee or something that goes along with that.
Okay.
Mr.
They were included, I'm sorry.
I was just going to add to Dr. Gansimer's answer that there was a discussion with them, and there are financing options available. We didn't necessarily find those to be more advantageous than what we would be able to do on our own.
Okay, great.
And I would say they were interested in the launch center and doing some things inside of there that promoted aerospace.
Okay, great. And then you said, or Ms. Spray asked the question, is there a waiting list of students? Do we actually have students on a waiting list for the AMP program yet?
We have a lot of interest and a lot of calls. And so depending on what the board wants to do with not only the land, and as we move forward with the land lease agreement, whatever we do, as soon as we get to a point and we start loading up the classes and making sure that we advertise and get them to be a part of, that we may even have a lot of students who are currently working at the airport want to take the program for them to be able to get some training and some certification that they may not have that they need.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, if you're throwing bags in the back of a plane and you look over on the other side and you're like, hey, what's going on over there? You know,
Yeah.
I
You might
guarantee
do that as your day job, and at night come over and get, exactly.
And I guarantee you that the salary for an AMP air plant and PowerPoint or airframe and power plant job is a lot higher than. But it's a good place to start in aviation. You know, a lot of people, sometimes young adults will come to me and say, you know, I want to be an airline pilot, and well, you know, that's a long road, college degree, a lot of flying. Why don't you go, you know, work on the ramp at the local airport and be around planes and, you know, learn how to fuel them and learn how to load bags on them and just learn about the aviation world. And a lot of times they have physical conditions that they're not going to be able to be pilots, or for whatever reason, it's a selective process. But this is something where they can really be involved in the airplane industry, you know, quickly and make a good salary. And then.
And if I could, I just want to clarify that. MTC, we're calling it the Airframe and Power Plant Program, because that's the name of the program.
Right.
But through FAA, it's the Aviation Maintenance Technician School, which is a Part 147.
Okay.
So I just want to put that in there, because if you start searching for different things and you see A&P, well, what's A&P? And then is that a restaurant or something?
We need to name it.
And then when you do the Aviation Maintenance Technician School, that's really what's going to be approved from the FAA.
Right, and Part 147 is an aviation regulation that deals with that type of training for maintenance of aircraft.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. And then the last comment I had was, I know that in our marine technician program and in our automotive technician programs at MTC, a number of companies have donated vehicles and parts and engines and that type of stuff. So I'm hopeful and very confident that aviation companies will donate things like that to us. You know, they do wear out, but you are right. We don't want 15 Cessna 152s out on the ramp because someone's like, hey, this thing doesn't work anymore, and it's going to cost us cost me $20,000 to repair it, I'll just donate it to the aviation program there at MTC for a tax write-off, which would be great for a couple, but not 15, right?
And we say that respectfully. We don't want to not accept donations, but at the same time, we have to be respectful of the program and the property that we're on, and like you said, and you never know, we might take one that really is busted up because we could take it apart and put it back together. But part of the program is you do have to have a working engine, and another part of the program is the students have to learn how to taxi a plane with calling through to the tower at the same time. So if we had a working plane that we could do that, that'd be great. The students will not be flying the plane. The instructor will not be flying the plane. It's not about checking airworthiness. That's a whole different thing. So it's more about just making sure mechanically it's working, and that the shell of it is in good working order and repairable, and that the students understand what to do in different situations.
Yeah, and that's important. The last thing you mentioned, having been a former airline pilot myself, there have been 2 incidents in the last couple of months where planes have run into each other at airports, and it's unacceptable. I mean, it's just not, there's nothing else on the ground that you worry about when you're operating an aircraft other than not hitting something, right?
Right.
And so it's important, and I'm glad. Yeah, that's the way it should be. And I'm there, but for the grace of God go I. I never hit anything when I was taxiing, but you see the one where the Southwest, they have those things on the edge of the wings, right? And they're for aerodynamics, better fuel economy for the wings, and it went right under a 757 and just smacked the wing. And you can see in the picture, their guys are sitting there on the maintenance guys and the baggage workers, and they're on the ground and they're watching, they're talking and they're looking at something, and while this guy's taxiing in, it's just. And then there was the one where I think it was an Airbus, literally took off it was a little regional jet, right, and taxied over top of it and took off the tail of the plane. So. Anyway, yeah, this is a good program, and we want quality people to be there. So that's all in.
And I will say that, and you and I met with 2 different times.
Right. Yeah.
With the program that volunteers, and it's an experimental under the EA experimental aircraft, and there's probably, I'd say 15 kids to 20 kids in this program that nobody's probably ever heard of, that meets on Saturday mornings at a hangar at the airport, and there are students that go build these little Cessnas from the ground up. I mean, I saw the crate, pieces everywhere, manual this big, and they build these airplanes. And those are the kids who will eventually move to wanting to do this program, right? And yeah, I mean, I think this program in the next 4 or 5 years is going to be, we need the second hangar, we need other stuff, because I think what Sharon and the EDC are doing are showing not only this aviation ecosystem we're growing here in Bradenton, Sarasota, but especially us as education institutions, saying you can come and take the Hangar 5 down, and Allegiant, Southwest, blah, 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 your mechanics are right here. So just like what happened, we were just out at the auto in Parrish, and we've got Firkins and blah, 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 hire our kids right out of the high school. I think the exact same thing's going to happen, just going to happen right there in the airport.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ms. Felton was lit up?
Yep. So presuming we all agree to go ahead and go forward with this today, what is our time frame looking at from point now to when we can start bringing in students? Oh, gosh.
Well, in process right now, we've interviewed different people for the coordinator who would actually run the program, because I don't think you want me to run a program about fixing airplanes. I can speak a lot about it, but don't put me in the shop with it. So that coordinator right now is working on the paperwork for HR and be approved and take care of that part of it. As the program goes, we'll probably hire some teachers with that too. With the building project, I'm not the construction manager to be able to say that, but I hear it could be 14 months, 16 months, possibly, if approved, to move forward. I would defer to Mr. Rinaldi about that. And then to actually start the program, we can start instruction, we can do different things, but we also have to make sure we're approved through FAA. And FAA is going to look at different things. They're going to look at, do you have the correct curriculum? And so right now, we're working with a consultant who we've hired through funding through MTC, and he's out of Miami, but he has built different programs like this before. And so he has a share file, and he's been dumping all the curriculum in that we need to be able to have that. The other thing they want to do is make sure that your instructor is certified and has the correct credentials. We've done that. We made sure we had all that as well. The other part of it too is to make sure that the facility that you're in is at the appropriate size for what you want to teach. So based on our facility, we could teach at least 100 during the day, or I'm sorry, it could be 100 during the day. If you look at the rooms, it could be up to 100 students. And if we did a day-night program, it could be 200. So FAA will look to make sure that the facility would be able to cover that. And then they're going to look at the equipment too. Do you have the appropriate equipment? And then, of course, all the trainers that we're going to get it from reputable companies that make those trainers. And so I would say I'm confident that we'll be approved, but right now there's just so many moving parts. When we first put this together, and maybe Mr. Dye can help with this. This is probably 8 years in the making, so this isn't something that's been done quick. When we got the first funding, a lot of people asked me at that time, and I said, well, if we get the building and we have it up and running, we should be able to have it at this time. Well, when's the building starting? So do we have to do it with the building at this time? Again, it goes back to FAA approving the program, because we can't really start the program without FAA approval. So I would say the hope would be soon.
Okay,
long
soon is
soon.
good.
Good
Soon
answer.
is good.
A long soon, there you go.
Yeah.
Long soon.
Good answer.
All right.
All
I'm
right,
good.
thank you very much. Dr. Gansmere, appreciate you elaborating on some of that. I don't see any other board members lit up
I
to
appreciate,
speak.
I really do. I appreciate being able to have the dialogue. That's what this is about.
Spray, I'm glad you brought it up, because it really did give us the opportunity to be able to share.
Publicize the event, or publicize
Exactly.
the
You're
the
welcome,
program.
board.
program.
And again, all the partners, I know they'll be excited too, because they're really interested. And if you want, I can invite them to come in during public comment, and they can share sometime if you wish.
Maybe we can do as we move forward, a workshop where we can bring everybody in to know what is really happening. I think that'd be great.
All the moving parts.
That'd be great.
Yeah, very similar to what we did with Edge, Project Edge.
Thank you.
All right, so we had our motion and our second,
Everybody was
I
so worried.
believe.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and vote on the approval of the MTC Aviation classroom amendment between the owner and Schenkel Schultz in the amount specified. That passes 5-0. All right, item number 3, Dr. Weissong.
Thank you, Chairman. I recommend approval of Manatee Technical College Aviation Hangar agreement between owner and Schenkel and Schultz Incorporated in the amount of $149,766 from multiple funding sources.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and it's all kind of encompassing of what we just spoke about. But because of the funding sources, we had to have 2 different ones, one classroom, one hangar.
I will say that I will not name this from a former school board member.
I second that motion also.
Amend the motion. Wait, okay. I'm just saying.
We have a motion and a second. So let's go ahead and vote on this approval of the MTC Aviation hangar. And that passes 5-0. All right, I'm going to take a 10-minute recess.
Okay.
7:30, we will reconvene.
Well, getting older.
All right, welcome back from a much-needed recess. We're moving on to item 15, new business, no superintendent recommendation. So item number 1, board, this is the board committee assignments for calendar year 24-25. We looked at that last meeting back in November, but we want to approve our calendar, or the calendar year that we set for our board meetings. Do you have a motion to approve that?
Motion.
Second.
And a second. Anybody see any mistakes? I mean, now that we've had a little bit of time to look at it even more, I didn't see any. I think it looked good.
What are we approving again?
The calendar,
Are we
like the
approving?
board meeting calendar.
No,
we're
no,
approving
your
the board committee
your
assignments.
Committee
Board committee
assignments.
I'm sorry.
assignments.
Board committee assignments for calendar year 24-25.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't see any mistakes either.
Yeah.
I had one thought to add, and that is, Mr. Bruner and I were talking, and he would like one of us to be a representative on his Crime Stoppers organization, and I'd be willing to do that if that's something that we want to have a liaison to Crime Stoppers. Or,
Yeah, I'll be willing to be your second. You know, if you can't make,
Okay.
somebody can be there. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
be
okay.
absolutely for that.
Okay, great. Sure.
Okay.
I guess I should, since it's a motion, I should make an amendment, and I would like to amend the motion to add myself as a liaison to the Crime Stoppers organization.
Second.
Thank you. And then we have to vote on the amendment and
Yep.
vote on it.
So we'll just do hands
Yeah.
on that one. So all those in favor of approving the amendment given by Mr. Tatum, raise your hand and say aye.
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 That's all I had.
All right, perfect. And now we can vote on the item that was already motioned and seconded as amended via Granicus, and that passes 5-0. Item number 2, the acceptance of the resignation of Citizens Financial Oversight Committee member. Miss Spray,
I'll motion that,
okay?
and then I'll get a second and I'll explain.
Second.
Okay.
All right, Miss Spray, you want to explain who it is and all? that good
Mr.
stuff?
Tom Aaron submitted his resignation of the committee. He served the committee, I think, for 2.5 years, maybe? Yeah, somewhere in that. And I just want to say thank you to him and all the contributions he made. He did the annual report last year, so I just wanted to say, we have to put it on the board work, and this is our opportunity to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
One real quick thing
Yep,
there. if
Mr.
I
Tatum.
could. Does this need to be a voted item and an amendment? I mean, what if we said, no, he's going to leave anyway? I mean, I guess I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm just wondering if there's a better place to do
I
this.
think it's just
A formality that we
formality.
do, and,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
We could move it to information only, but then again, maybe we don't have the opportunity to thank him if it's down in the
Right.
information. Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to have that quick
Yeah.
discussion. I'm good.
What was
This
it,
is a
Tom?
good
You gotta-
time
you gotta
to,
stay, Tom.
a good time to advocate for people to join that
Sure.
committee, though.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry,
No, I just, to Mr. Tatum, I think it's in the charter that members are added and removed by vote of the board.
Oh, is it?
Oh,
I haven't read it,
Yeah.
I haven't read it in a while, but I think it's part
Oh,
of the
it's
charter.
probably is
Yeah.
then.
It is. It's
Okay,
the-
great. then. That's good to know. Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and vote then on the acceptance of the resignation of Mr. Aaron. And that passes 5-0. All right, item number 3 here in our new business was our board discussion that we had earlier about the Harvey K-8. So there was some consensus on what we wanted to do. So just looking for a motion on what we spoke about during the workshop.
I'll make a motion that we name the new campus to be named Barbara Harvey K-8 at North River Ranch, and also for the existing campus to allow students and staff to perhaps submit their opinions and names for their the current campus. So I don't know if that needs to be 2 different motions, but that way we get they get the
Would you
buy-in.
want 2 different motions, or what do you want to type?
Okay, then, okay, I'll
Okay,
make
so do the first motion.
the first motion is to name the new construction campus to be Barbara Harvey K-8 at North River Ranch.
Can I ask for clarification on that?
Yeah, you ask, yeah.
Sure,
you
after
can ask
the
for
mo-
that.
Okay.
I'll second that for the sake of discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go, thank you. So
Thank
I
you.
hit the motion, and he's got the second.
Got it.
Now we can.
I just want to make sure that when we present the motion, that we phrase it that we're not naming,
No.
because I want to make sure that we don't get into that whole naming thing
Right,
again.
it says,
Yeah.
the motion states to name the new campus Barbara Harvey K through 8, which we've
Already approved.
right, at North River Ranch.
Okay, so the
just
new
the campus
campus is
itself.
The
being
new campus would be
at
that.
North River Ranch.
Right.
Okay.
And for discussion too,
Yeah, it's a Barbie A. Harvey is the
Right.
legal name, but that's fine.
right, okay, well, all right. I didn't know that, but right. And the two, this will give us clarity, so when it's listed on our district website, they hit Barbara A. Harvey, K through 8, there could be a drop down to that campus at North River Ranch,
North
and
River
then the
Ranch
campus at
and
the
then
other one.
to be named campus.
To be named campus, exactly,
named.
so.
Mr.
But
Tate
that's
was
my
up
motion.
to speak.
So is it at North River Ranch or is it North River Ranch campus? What's the best
Oh, good
phrasing
point.
for that?
We went back and forth on that.
At North River Ranch or North River?
I don't
Ranch
see the
campus?
need for campus, but
Okay.
if you want to do it.
Yeah,
for-
I mean, if we're
That's
just
fine.
naming, if we're naming that campus, it's the North River Ranch. I
Okay,
mean,
at North River Ranch is fine with me.
you're gonna,
That's it.
they may say campus, they may school, who knows?
Mhm.
Okay.
Site. All right, so we have a motion.
In a
Jenny, go
second.
ahead, Mr.
Does somebody second? Yeah.
Thank you, yeah. I'm still at the same place I was during the workshop discussion in that I think we have to be really clear that we are naming the entire two-campus school one thing, and what Mrs. Spray wants to do, which I support, in calling the upper campus Barbara Harvey K through 8 at North River Ranch.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
That's the gist of the motion you're trying to make now.
Yes, sir.
Correct, okay. So,
And their second motion will be the bottom one,
Right.
that the PTO
Gotcha.
said, yeah,
gotcha, okay.
gets named that campus. But you are right, overall, Barbara Harvey K.
Which the board has already officially taken action.
So they voted on that in
Right,
September.
right.
Okay, thank you, so that's done. Okay, I'm good, I just wanted to be clear about that. Okay, thank you.
All right, so you have that portion up. You want us to go ahead and vote on that one? All right, let's go ahead and vote on the motion
She's got
for
it
the
right.
North Campus to be Barbara A. Harvey K. at North River Ranch.
I got,
Uh-oh, did you get hooked?
no, a thought just occurred to me about the motion, but I'm gonna vote no, but it'll pass, so it's fine.
All right, that passes 4-1, and Mr. Kennedy was the no vote on item number 3. So, Ms. Spray, your second motion?
Is to allow the student, staff, and/or PTO SAC team to name the South Campus, I'm guessing.
Instead of
To-
name, can I say give recommendation?
Give recommendations,
board?
thank you, to make recommendations to the board for the south portion of the Barbara K. Harvey K-8.
So, South Campus,
Yeah, the South Campus.
South Campus, original campus.
Either way you want to phrase it, South Campus or original.
Current.
Right.
It is current.
So allow the students, staff, and/or PTO staff team to give recommendations to the board for the South Campus
Designation or name.
designated name.
Barbara, it needs to have it has to have the Barbara A. Harvey K through 8 dash, they fill in the blank as recommendations.
Yeah, for that
To
campus.
give,
that's-
For that
right,
campus thing.
for that particular campus as a buy-in, for community buy-in. Right.
So that's your motion.
That's my motion.
Second.
Oh, I didn't hit the motion.
We got a second? Mr. Kennedy, we let it, oh, nope, I'm sorry, Ms. Tatum?
Yes, what was mine? I had to give me about 5 seconds. I'll remember what it. Oh, do we want to provide some direction to the superintendent about the process, or just let him come up with that? I don't want to. I would prefer not to have it a big, long, involved process that requires a lot of staff work and.
Yeah, I don't.
Can we make it a contest?
You know, not have to go through this whole whatever. But that's my thought.
Given that this is fairly narrow, I would just work with Principal Rio and her supervisor, Dr. Cadillo. We'll put something very brief together, send it out to parents, students, staff.
Great.
We'll have a 2-week turnaround, and then we'll get that back to the board in January.
Great. That's
Perfect.
fine.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Good turnaround.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and vote on that motion to allow student, staff, PTO, etc. to give recommendations to the board for the South Campus.
Perfect.
Name.
Okay.
And that passes 4-1 with Mr. Kennedy being the one no vote. All right, so some information only in item number 16. Some financials there, some charters, etc. Moving to item number 18, updates. Instructional update. Is that you, Dr. Breslin?
Yes, sir.
Come on down.
Good evening, members of the board and
Good
Dr.
evening.
Wysong. Thank you for the opportunity to present the instructional updates in Mr. Jensen's absence. It is my favorite time of year, and we have many good tidings to share here in Manatee County. Starting with our youngest of learners, Sheila Halpin and the early learning team hosted a Soar and 4 event at the Bishop Museum last Wednesday. It was packed. We engaged over 700 attendees with learning materials and, of course, a visit from the star of the show, Santa Claus himself. Then on Saturday, the team, in collaboration with the Early Learning Coalition and Step Up Suncoast, transformed Harley's campus to provide breakfast for 130 teachers, pre-K and kindergarten, for a transition to kindergarten training. A special thank you to Beth Duda and the Suncoast Campaign for Grade Level Reading for supporting this effort. Our directors of elementary and secondary curriculum are gearing up for the VEX competition starting this January. This year, they've broken it up into several smaller competitions to allow more access for families to attend. And board members, Superintendent Wysong, I believe those invites went out from curriculum this week for those events. Within CTE, we're supporting students and teachers as we delve deeper into the competition season. On Saturday, December 14th at Southeast High School, there will be over 800 students, advisors, and volunteer judges for the TSA Gulf Coast Regional. And congratulations to the FFA chapter at Buffalo Creek Middle School, who won first place in the state vegetable judging.
Oh, that's great.
Very cool. And thank you to the Manatee Chamber of Commerce. The Big Bank Theory finance programs are ongoing at several of our districted schools. And then finally, also this Saturday, we'll host one of our annual migrant fairs from 9 to 12 at Palmetto Elementary. Families will have access to community partners, we'll have donations, and provide presents for families for the holidays. The first migrant fair was a success, which was held at East Coast Migrant Head Start in Mayaca earlier this month. And that concludes our instructional updates. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Operations, Mr. Rinaldi.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Wysong. Quick update on human resources. We had an operational job fair on November 14th. We had 75 attendees. Multiple job offers were made. Custodial had 6 offers, food service 4. Transportation has 6 active driver applications working their way through the permitting process right now, and we had 5 active bus aid applicants as well from that job fair. We presently have 2 drivers that are in training. That brings us for the first time this year to 100 drivers.
Let's go.
So unfortunately, we still have 3 that are on long-term disability, but so we're really at 97. But that 100 on roster is a big goal and big good news for us. The next operational job fair will be held January 9th from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock till noon at the Wakeland Center. And the next teacher and para job fair will be virtual and will be held January 21st from 9 to 11 a.m. Wanted to give you a little bit of an update on maintenance and operations since they've been working pretty hard through all the storm issues. All ground-related debris is approximately 95% picked up right now. By the beginning of the holiday break, we'll be at 100%, so all debris will have been picked up from Milton. We're presently watching for stress trees, and we do know that we're going to have a lot of branches down, so we're watching that closely. In addition, Southeast High School, the field house roof has been replaced, so that's back up and running. The athletic issues, scoreboards, soccer goals, stadium lighting, in general are being corrected, and we are on order for replacement. At Palmetto High, the stadium replacement light package has been ordered. We're waiting final schedule from the vendor, but we're anticipating 6 to 8 weeks before we're going to have all of those lights back up right now. General roof repairs are underway, including all the portables. Everything is dried in. We're just doing gutters, fascia, metal, things like that. So nothing, no water infiltration. The Manatee High North gym replacement of the flooring is scheduled to start February 1st at the request for the school, so we're moving forward with that. And finally, Anna Marie Building 2, which is Music and Art, and Building 3, which is the auditorium. Interior demolition is complete. Remediation and replacement of the drywall is in progress. All the electrical is about 50%. We've replaced all the ceilings at this point. We expect to have the flooring complete over, started January 6th, and the painting complete over the holiday break. Unfortunately, then we're sitting and waiting for the HVAC equipment to come in, so we still may be a month or 2 months out before that equipment actually comes in, but we're moving forward on that. So Food and Nutrition Services, they will be celebrating the Manatee County Fair on January 16th at all secondary schools. Students at each school will have a chance to win 2 fair tickets, and the menu will include fair favorites such as churro bites and whole grain turkey corn dogs. That sounds way too healthy. I don't know.
Have a couple churro bites. That'll offset it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to, and for construction services, a couple big things that were on the consent agenda tonight. Artisan Lakes and Rye Ranch, that prototype, we've completed negotiations with the construction manager, Skanska Building Services, so we're going to be continuing design and working and having them do scheduling as well as estimating for us now. Williams Elementary, the 8 classroom addition was on there, the contractor for Gilbane for that as well. And the big one is Palmasola Elementary. This is our 3rd GMP, so this is the 3rd and final GMP. And I just need to recognize that whole team through multiple storms and all of the issues that they had. They brought it in at $26.1 million, which was right on budget. So it was a good job. That's all we've got.
Thank you. Mr. Tatum has a question.
Mr. Rinaldi, would you inform the public on how many vans we have and how we're using those to help our transportation situation, improve our on-time performance? I think it'd be interesting for people to hear that because it is making a difference.
Yeah, we're up to 7 vans now, and we're looking to order another 2. We're using those for special transportation, ESE students. If we have some Project Heart students, then we're actually transporting more than a typical distance to get them to their school, to their assigned school. We're using those vans to do that as well, and they have the capacity. Half of them have the capacity to pick up a wheelchair as well. So
and are those vans helping our on-time performance?
Yes, they are. They're helping the performance, and they're helping us be strategic about how our routes are being developed right now. So as we bring on the van drivers, we can then reconfigure the routes. We're looking at hotspots, long delays, long idle times that we have maybe, at certain intersections and all that, and see if we can strategically reconfigure the routes by using the vans, by picking up these focus students.
Good.
Thank you.
The second thing I had for you real quick is just, we have a really good school system, and there's lots of good things about it. I'm just bringing this up while I have you and Dr. Weiss on together. As I drive around to some of our campuses, I'm wondering if there's a way that we could get the principals more involved in looking at the landscaping and the potholes and stuff like that. There's just some of the, especially maybe our older campuses, that I just think we could do a better job on making the landscaping look nice. And then there are potholes and edges of roads that are broken. And I know we're doing lots of other stuff after the hurricane, but maybe you could just send a note to them, hey, as you're driving out in the afternoon, if you see a pothole in your parking lot, tell your custodian, report it to somebody. I think that's an area for improvement, making a really good school system moving towards really great. I just wanted to encourage the two of you to look at that. It's something we can do to, take us from a 9 to a 9.5 for a school system. So that's it. Okay, great.
I
Thank
do
you.
have one other, if I could, while you're there, sorry. So we have, all the parents have alerts if their bus is gonna be late, correct?
Yes, I mean, well, there's multiple ways. We either notify them through the app that they have, but a lot of times the app isn't refreshing at the rate that we need to, so we get a message out to them.
So, so we can,
Yeah.
what do we need to do to increase the response to the app, to the parent?
Well, I mean, at this
Is there-
point right now, we're still doing a fair amount of double acts, and we're doing some reconfiguring of the routes on the fly if we have an accident or if we have an issue with the bus. And that's when we aren't able to keep up with the app, where we get
Right.
the message out to them, either via text or by the phone, a message on the phone.
Your estimation, how many students get home after 6 p.m.?
After 6, you probably have a number of middle school students. I wouldn't be able to give you the numbers, but I mean, a lot of times it's not the fault of the middle school students, but a lot of times
Traffic.
perhaps an elementary student, the parent doesn't show up, forcing us to go back and drop
Right.
or wait longer. So, and it's a snowball effect.
And traffic.
So, yeah,
Traffic.
absolutely, traffic.
Okay, all right. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Hi, legal.
But not much. I did see when I was researching that insulin case, that there's also, if you recall, the state did a big opioid settlement a few years ago.
Yeah.
And there's funds available from that are, can go to the school districts, and staff is applying to participate in that.
Okay.
So just, you might hear about that later.
Cool.
So otherwise, pretty quiet.
Great. Anything? No. Thank you. All right, Dr. Weissong, superintendent comments.
Thank you, Chairman. Board, appreciate your preparation for the meeting and your approval of the consent agenda. With your approval, we will be applying for $635,000 in additional grant funds coming into the district. And then the other prominent feature of tonight's consent agenda was movement forward on a lot of construction projects. Mr. Rinaldi talked about a couple, and just a shout out to our entire construction services team. They are working day and night. In fact, a couple of them were here hanging out just in case there was a last minute Palmasola question, to make sure that got approved tonight so that they could move forward tomorrow. So that team's doing incredible work, and we appreciate them. Since our reorganization meeting on November 19. I had an opportunity to spend time at Rogers Garden, Mills, and Anna Maria Elementaries, as well as Bayshore High. We're continuing to see a lot of great writing samples posted, student work up at schools. Teachers are not just getting that work up, but making sure that the standard that the work is connected to is posted. We're seeing a lot of great written feedback to students, and so great work there. My visit to Bayshore was a little bit unique. As you know, board members, each principal designs their visit a little differently. Mr. Cooper, our principal at Bayshore, invited 4 seniors in Bayshore's AVID program to participate in the opening meeting while I was there, and then they actually walked classrooms with us, and so got to talk with them really for a couple of hours over the course of the visit. Very enjoyable. In addition to all of the great student accolades that we saw this evening, wanted to share that Mr. Jensen and I had an opportunity to attend Parish Community High's performance of Little Women a couple of weeks back. Really well done, and really great turnout for the show as well. Students coming out to support each other in our programs. It was great to see. And then I know the chairman will talk more about this, but so proud of our Manatee High football team and their run through the playoffs. Was really amazing to get to watch them over multiple games work together, and just awesome. It was also a really great turnout for that state semifinal, and it was really fun to get to see the Manatee community pulling together for that game. Board, of course, we spent time together last week at the School Boards Association Conference, and while you all were in your sessions, I was with other superintendents from around the state getting updates from DOE and learning about some of the things that are maybe forthcoming. Also had an opportunity to leave the conference for a few minutes and join our foundation executive director, Mary Glass, at the Consortium of Florida Education Foundations meeting, which was going on just over the bridge in Pinellas County. And so went over there, and she and I served on a panel with 2 other districts to talk to folks from around the state about best practices where it relates to great relationships between school districts and their supporting foundations. It was an awesome conversation. In addition to all of the academic updates that Dr. Breslin provided, our students have been completing their progress monitoring assessment in math. After the holidays, they will come back and they'll do their assessment in English language arts, and then we will have math data for you at the January 21st meeting, and then we'll have ELA data for you at the first board meeting in February. And again, those will be fairly in-depth presentations because we want you to see exactly what we're seeing in the data and what adjustments we're making based on all of that. And then, of course, as we get closer and closer to the holiday break, our secondary students will soon be in exams. And just a reminder that as a result of the hurricane schedule change, Wednesday the 18th, Thursday the 19th, and Friday the 20th those are regular school days. They are not early release for high school this year. That allowed us to get valuable instructional time back in first semester. Finally, board members, there are always a lot of projects happening in schools around the holidays. This year, we received a request from Commissioner Diaz a request to support Lieutenant Governor Nunez's call for students to write letters to individuals serving in the Florida National Guard to thank them for their service at the holidays. And so at the end of last week, we packed up a banker box full of letters from students to members of the National Guard, and that box is on its way to Tallahassee for distribution from there. So thank you to all the students who wrote letters and to their teachers and principals for getting all of that organized.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, so let's move on to board comments. Ms. Felton, followed by Kennedy, Tatum, Spray, and myself. Ms. Felton.
All right, so it's been a busy couple of weeks starting off with the board. I had a great time at FSBA. It was nice to see some of my fellow board members there and get to talk a little bit about ourselves and kind of get to know each other. And to meet so many people from all over the state and make connections and participate in discussions. One of the most important parts for me was the panel of students. That was really engaging to me. I don't know if all of you were able to attend that who were there, but they had 4 students who were speaking to us about things that they want the board to know when they, about their experiences in high school. And they were wonderful kids, articulate, had some really great ideas about ways to engage with them. I would love to see us better engage as well with our students. We need, you know, as we were talking about buy-in earlier, we need their buy-in as well. And if they're feeling heard from, you know, they said that they feel like even if they don't agree with the rules, they're more likely to participate in them and not, you know, be quite so upset about having to put their phones away. In particular, the phone conversation was interesting. So that was really good. I got a lot from it. I'm looking forward to the continued FSBA activities for the rest of the year that I fully intend to participate in. As I had said earlier, I was able to do a tour at NTC today at the main campus with Dr. Gensimer and Mr. Wagner. It was great to see so many people engaged and learning. A lot of people weren't there because it's the end of the semester and they're already out working. So whether or not they come back for graduation, you know, we don't know, but they're already out there, they've got jobs, they're making good income now, and so that was really inspiring to see as well. I just want to congratulate again our Raiders teams from Palmetto and Manatee High Schools. That takes a lot of work to make it all the way to nationals, and they excelled. These kids could run me down, I'll tell you what. They are a tough group of young men and women, and I was really impressed with everything they've accomplished. And again, I was a marching band nerd, so again, really excited too about Braden River High School's marching band and how well they performed as well at states. I'd just like to mention that I was very moved by the public comment from the young man who spoke about having a place where LGBTQ young people can meet at school, and the importance of allowing them to meet without fear. When I was teaching, I was the faculty sponsor for the GSA, Gay Straight Alliance, on the campus at the request of one of my own children who was attending school there. And they met in my room. It was a safe place. They could talk to each other, you know, talk about their feelings, talk about, you know, the difficulties that they face every day. And they didn't feel so alone. And as he brought up, Trevor Project has, their whole purpose is to keep kids safe, to keep them mentally safe, and to be a resource for them to prevent suicide. It's an amazing program. I've supported it for years. And our kids, every kid needs to feel safe in school and needs to know that they're loved and cared for, even if they won't get that care at home. So, you know, I really commend him to put himself out there and come here and speak to us this evening. And then, let's see, I think that pretty much covered everything. So lastly, just this was my first full board meeting, so it went very well, and I thought we all worked well together, and I'm excited to see us go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy.
Oh, thanks. Ms. Felton, I want to echo your comments. I thought it was very brave of Jack from Lakewood Ranch to show up and advocate for himself and his peers. It's not easy, as he mentioned. The mental health outcomes for LGBT students are horrifying, and sadly, over the past few years, marginalized populations have been used as political tools, and fortunately that era seems to be coming to an end. But I do really appreciate, it takes a lot of bravery as an 11th grader to stand up and address the school board, and I appreciate him doing that. As always, the kids are always the best part, so like the Raiders teams and our state and national champions, congrats to them too, as you said. I want to, in addition to public comment, I'm not going to address this anymore, because if somebody has a problem with my address, they can go take it up with the state. When this was brought up at my first meeting, and I knew it was coming, so I had no problem with it being brought up, so that's okay. But I said then, somebody can reach out to me if they'd like to see my lease. They can reach out to Attorney Dye, or maybe I just said Attorney Dye. Mr. Dye, did anybody reach out to you since November 19th about my lease? No. So showing up at public comment and trying to order us around about how to run our meeting is completely out of line to me. But I get it. People are not satisfied with the outcome of an election, so they come and accuse me of breaking the law, even though I followed the law because I knew this would come. And so nobody came to me or Mr. Dye, but they did go to the Bradenton Times. And so the only person who has ever called me about this is a reporter. And I went through the story with her. She published an article about it 10 days ago. And that, if the State Division of Elections wants to come talk to me about it, I can show them my documentation. The nice thing is now, as of December 1st, when the map changed, I live in District 3. So to me, this is a moot point, but I hope people will be able to move on. And the elections are over. Let's move on and start doing productive things. I do have two items real quick. One, I know a request for a shade session has to come from the attorney on the case.
On litigation.
I don't want to be specific about the litigation, but I'll refer to it this way. It's our oldest piece of litigation still sitting out there. And Mr. Dye, I'm not sure the proper way, because Attorney Jackson would have to make the request for the shade meeting, because she would be at a point where she needs direction from the board. And we may not be at a point where she needs direction from us on this case. But it's 8 or 9 years old. It's still ongoing. It's dragging on, which means it's getting expensive. Spending money on legal cases takes money away from the kids. So I'm not sure how we go about doing this, but I just wanted, kind of through you, Mr. Dye, is if you could be in contact with Ms. Jackson, like, hey, if there's any inflection point where we could hold a shade meeting on that, because we have 2 new board members. So I'd like kind of an in-depth update on the case.
I would go for that.
Because I haven't seen any billings, but it's been a long time. I'm sure we're well over $1 million. And then I've got one more, which came from a constituent. He emailed, he lives in the neighborhood of King Middle School, and emailed about why the neighbors use the tennis courts, green space over by King to walk dogs and exercise and so forth. And so I appreciate Superintendent Wysong providing me with his input on it. And this is not timely, this is not a rush or anything like that. But I would like the board to discuss or maybe create a policy whereby the public can use school district green space when students are not present. These are publicly funded buildings. The taxpayers pay for these properties and the maintenance of these properties. I understand what some of our obstacles are, including right now in the short term is repairs from hurricane damage. And then there's the questions long term of liability and things like that. But I would hope we could look at, like, how does Allegheny County, that's Pittsburgh, how does Manatee County Public Parks, how do they handle liability? Because they have public spaces open.
Chair, I can do a quick response to that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, with the King School, there's actually an agreement with the county where they're
Right.
they're running it like a park at their expense, and it's separated from the school for security.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
So it's got a comprehensive arrangement of how that's being done.
Yeah, I was gonna, okay.
Yeah, no, and that's specific to King. My ask, and again, this can go on a workshop list, is can we create a general policy for the entire district whereby if the conditions are for security, for example, and we can create a space where the public can use it outside of school hours. That's all I'm after. I appreciate that reminder because the superintendent did remind me about that interlocal that we have with the county.
And the complexity is with safety and security.
Right, of course.
And so I think staff's looking into it, but there's a lot of groups that would like to use school-owned facilities after hours, and there are procedures and policies in place for doing that.
Right.
Just having them like when we were young and all the schools were open, you'd go shoot hoops or whatever.
Right.
Those days are probably over. There's got to be security and accountability and all kinds of things.
But Mr. Dye, that's what I'm getting at. How does Manatee County handle the issues that you just brought up, rightfully so? How do they handle that? And we don't need to talk about it now, but I just want to kind of get it on everybody's.
That'd be a good workshop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and by the way, speaking of Big Bang Theory came up when Dr. Breslin did her update. I was talking to Jackie Dzelski, who's the CEO of the Chamber, over the weekend, and she said they had some space. They were looking for folks at Bayshore High on Thursday morning. So if anybody's free Thursday morning and you want to come work Big Bang Theory, I'll be there Thursday morning if you want to come help out. So.
Going to Bayshore, I don't know if it's Thursday, but.
Yeah, I think they're there Wednesday and Thursday. Or maybe it's Thursday, Friday. But anyway, looking forward to it. I
I'll
appreciate
look
the
out for
Chamber's
it.
contributions to the district.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Tatum.
Okay, so for Ms. Felton and Mr. Kennedy, I have this tradition of doing a little safety pitch as part of my
I'm
comments.
aware.
So, are you aware? Yeah, you've been here, you've seen that. So my safety pitch this time is, we all hear about people burning down their homes with their Christmas trees and stuff like that, but there's a lot of extension cords out there right now. I've tripped over them already in my house, with all the stuff running around. So just pay attention to that kind of stuff. Be careful at Christmas. We want you to come back after the new year, right? Be careful at Christmas. Don't hook too many light strings together, that type of thing.
Griswold's house?
What's that?
Griswold's house?
Yeah, the Griswold's house. I shorted out mine already because I turned the sprinkler system on and then somehow it got into the bushes and then, it's a ground fault system luckily, but anyway, so that's my safety for me and everybody else. Be safe over the holidays with your electricity. The FSBA conference was good. It's always good to go there and get legislative updates, so that's good to hear about. My next to last comment, I'll save my last comment for something somewhat positive. This is our first meeting after our reorg meeting, and I'd like us to consider in the future, especially in the non-election years, because in the election years there's usually new school board members, that maybe we would have a workshop about maybe in November, like in October or something, about who we'd want to consider to be our chairman and our vice chairman, because I've been through this 3 times now, and it happens so quick, right? It's like someone makes a motion, and it's one of those things that there's things I'd like to discuss about those positions, but they're the type of conversations I would normally have in private, but because of the sunshine laws, we have to have them in public, but I think it's necessary, and I'd actually considered maybe tonight having that discussion and considering some changes, just because I think it's good for the school system to have a change of leadership, even though, for instance, Mr. Chair, I think you've been a great chairman, and I have no problem with you being chairman, but it's good I think, to rotate those positions once in a while, just so people have the leadership experience and maybe some new ideas, but I decided against that based on talking to some people both in the school system and out of the school system. I think our current leadership setup is good as it is. But in the future, it's something for us to consider, is that maybe we could have a workshop and really think through what would be best as we pick our chairman and our vice chairman, instead of just a motion We all kind of sit and stare at each other like, I'd like to say something, but I don't want to do it in public, so then I don't. And it's over in like 2 minutes, and it's an important decision, you know, who the leadership of our board is. So there's that point, and maybe we could do that the next time around. And then the last thing I wanted to point out is, you've heard me say this quote before, but it came back to my mind tonight with all the military cadets that were here. There's a sign, at least there was a sign, I don't know if it's still there, but at one time when I was an Air Force Academy cadet, there was a sign on the, as you enter the athletic fields at West Point, and there's a quote on it, and it's from Douglas MacArthur, and it says, "On the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds which on other fields and on other days will bear the fruits of victory." And so obviously that's talking about, you know, military training at a military academy, then going out and winning battles and wars, but all these lessons about competition, because the reality of the world is there is competition, whether you're competing for a job, whether you're competing in a sports, you know, college or something like that. Competition is everywhere. So how do you go about competing with courage and with intensity, but also with fairness and respect for the other people, your fellow competitors? And so what these young people are doing in these ROTC programs and the competitions that they're going to is really preparing themselves to go out and compete in a fair and honorable way in the world, because there are competitions and there are winners and there are losers in the adult world. And so in the fields of friendly strife is really a good place to learn those lessons. And that's the end of my comments for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Fry.
Okay, long day for all of us, but I do have a few things I want to point out. To Mr. Kennedy's point about the tennis courts, we've brought that up before. I'm glad you want to put that on a workshop. I've sent in a wish list of some repairs as well that I'd like to see for some of our, so maybe we could integrate that list that I shared into that workshop with public access. Also, the CFOC met, gosh, was that yesterday? Yeah, this just seems like a long day. Yesterday, they've got a couple items that they'll be waiting on data from. Most notably, the graduation rate. We don't get that until later in the year. It's kind of odd, but it's all the calculations that they have to do. So I'm hoping that the data that we need, the CFOC will be able to present their annual report at the workshop on the 24th next month, and then go on to the agenda for February 11th. I want to thank the CFOC committee members for all of the hard work they've done on getting this report together. FSBA was a bang, no pun intended about Big Bang Theory, but the Central Florida School Board Coalition, all of the students made little things for members, and this is one with an apron with handprints and hearts and that kind of thing. And the little sunflower represents all the seeds that everybody sows. So we need to be mindful that we are sowing seeds as we're sitting here, and for all the teachers. But anyway, I wanted to thank that coalition for bringing all of those. The students were, as you can tell, very resourceful with the materials they were given. Also on, what was the other one I wanted to talk about? Oh, the district vision. When I got on the board, I did not like, I like the vision, I just think it needs to change. I brought an idea, I think Mr. Tatum brought an idea, but I don't think anyone else expected they were supposed to bring an idea, so we stuck with this one. I would like to put that on the workshop, to put, maybe we could do that during the master board, to maybe update this. I know it's probably a few years old, so I'd like to request that. And I think that's all I really had. Thanks everybody for being here for so late. I know it's been a long day, has been for me, and one of the items from one of our sponsors is When Pigs Fly, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So I want to say Merry Christmas to all of our staff, our students, and our community, to be honest with you. I don't think we have another public meeting, so I just want to, I wore my Christmas plaid, so there you go. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, thank you. I want to thank the staff for putting the meeting together, Dr. Weissong, everybody. I know it's a lot to get these things going behind the scenes, so I appreciate that. Congratulations to all the students, the Raiders and the band. I mean, a lot of hard work goes into that. You know, when I was teaching, those lights were on at 5:45, 6 o'clock in the morning for the Raiders to be on the track. And then they had to go to school, and then they had to go back in the afternoon. So impressive that we've got, you know, 3 teams that went there national champions. So kudos to them, and really appreciate the staff that does that for them, for all the cadets. Yeah, congratulations, Dr. Weissong said. Congratulations, Manatee High School football team, semifinals. Not the way you want to end it, but it was a great season. FSBA was great for the time that I could be there. And I do want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, since we don't meet again until January. Everybody be safe during the holidays, and enjoy it with friends and family. So with that, thank you all very much. Today was a great day, a little bit long, but it's a good one. It was good.
Good meeting. Good meeting.
So we are officially adjourned.